It's not every day out here in Quebec we get the chance to feature the heavy-duty pickup trucks. The manufacturers like to put the half-ton trucks on the fleet because they're a little bit more accessible for my colleagues in Montreal, which is why I'm very excited to finally have the chance to feature the third of the big three 3/4 ton trucks. This, my friends, is a 2021 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD High Country. Now this uses a 6.6 liter turbodiesel V8 Duramax engine, as well as a 10-speed Allison transmission. Power numbers on this are really good, 445 horsepower and 910 pound-feet of torque. Now, it really comes down to a measuring contest when it comes to a lot of these trucks. Every manufacturer wants to have the biggest numbers. Right now, something like the Ram 3500, you can get up to 1,000 pound-feet of torque. So if you want to know how they compare in terms of engines and everything, we finally have featured all of the 3/4 ton trucks. The most recent past this was the 2020 Ford F-250 Super Duty with the Tremor package, and then we also featured a 2019 Ram 2500 Laramie Longhorn with the Cummins Turbodiesel. So not only have we featured all the diesels, but we finally have now the third of the big three here. Now there are some numbers to go over when it comes to this. The total payload, if you go with this configuration, can be up to 3,563 pounds or 1,616 kilograms. The way that this one's configured, because we've got a lot of options and tech on it, we're looking at a payload of 2,979 pounds or 1,351 kilograms. It's still an insane amount of weight that you can put in this truck. And then the towing capabilities are pretty phenomenal. This truck can tow 18,500 pounds, and that's both a conventional tow or a fifth wheel. And we also have that even with all of this kit on here. So that is the tow numbers for this engine, configuration and everything. Almost 20,000 pounds. I mean, unless you're doing some seriously hardcore stuff, this will be plenty fine for whatever you plan on doing it with. But to be fair, these trucks are usually for those who actually need to do the towing. Although when you go up to something like this High Country, maybe not so much. This is more of a luxury truck than it is anything else. Now, we didn't have a chance to feature the new heavy-duty Chevrolet truck when it came out. There is a couple small changes. You barely wouldn't even notice it from the previous model year. Basically, two new special editions, including a new Carhartt edition on the LTZ crew cab. I actually saw one the other day. Basically a black truck with the orange trim or Carhartt brown that goes around the outside, and then unique interior elements inspired by Carhartt. We also have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for the infotainment system, and we also have this new cherry red tint coat paint that I think looks really good. It's almost like fire engine red on this truck. Now, we've gone over the exterior changes when it comes to the new generation Chevy Silverado. This looks quite different from the regular half-ton truck. The front end especially, you can tell that this is different. The unique daytime running lights and the front grille is massive on this truck. And I mean, look, I'm standing next to it. I'm a huge guy, and this thing towers over me. So the looks pretty consistent with the half-ton truck, but you're obviously getting a much more capable vehicle, a much larger vehicle, and I gotta say, I mean, these trucks just keep on getting bigger. Not that I mind, it works for me out here in the country, but I mean, these things are getting huge. So if you want to know a little bit more about what the exterior has to offer, I do recommend taking a look at the Silverado High Country that we did before, because also the interior is about the same. We've talked about it, and we talked about it when we featured the Silverado before, and it still stays true. I feel that both Ford and Ram have better interiors. This wasn't overhauled the same way that the F-250 was and the Ram 2500 compared to their previous generations. It is kind of conservative in here, and considering it costs $94,000, I kind of feel like you should get a little bit more of the luxury experience on the inside here. We have an 8-inch infotainment system, which works. You have ventilated and heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, and heated rear seats. But again, the Ram kind of offers more of that top-end luxury stuff, and the F-250 has a pretty good experience as well. But the technology is what GM is expecting people to be buying this Silverado for. One of the major selling features is the number of cameras that you can have on this truck. We've got the usual suite of our 360-degree cameras with a backup camera, 2 on the mirrors to be able to see your sides, and 1 on the front. But we also have 2 extra cameras on the back of the cab. One of them is the video rear view mirror, which we've seen before, and the other one is a bed camera, so you can see what's in your bed, making sure it doesn't fall off or get loose, giving you a bit of extra security on the road. But GM also has a number of additional cameras that you can add to the truck. One inside your trailer, so if you have a trailer that's enclosed and you want to keep an eye on whatever cargo you're carrying, you can have that, as well as another camera that goes on the back of your trailer. So if you're using it, you're backing up, you can see behind you. But GM also has a way that you can sort of make the trailer invisible using all the cameras on the vehicle, puts it through a computer system and shows you more or less what your trailer would look like if it wasn't there. So if you're seeing what's behind you, it's kind of safe. Now, we don't have a trailer, I can't test it, but we have seen some B-roll of it and it looks pretty cool stuff. We do actually have the equipment here, but since I don't have a trailer and it's not my truck, I can't test it fully. But that's essentially the big selling feature of this truck. Aside from that though, I mean, you're either going to be buying this because you're a Chevrolet enthusiast, or you're looking at something, you're comparing the specs from the other trucks and you want to know kind of what this has to offer. And that's one of the features. The Duramax engine works very well, has impressive power and towing numbers, and it depends on the looks. You know, you're either going to like it or not. I think it works for this truck, though again, I feel that the other vehicles in the segment have a stronger look. But that's about it for our exterior and interior walk around. I want to take the 2500 HD on a road test. I want to talk about how this performs, handles, drives, and everything else that you need to know if you're in the market for a $94,000 3/4 ton pickup truck. As we wrapped up our exterior, I mentioned that this was a $94,000 Canadian truck, and I said that because that's the way that I would configure this. GM has added about another $5,000 worth of options that you don't need. That's why the MSRP is actually $98,000. We have $4,100 for these rims. They're basically the same rims you get, but now they're chrome, and not even that much chrome. I mean, I've watched this truck a couple times, and it's not like they shine too much. And then you've also got the Z71 off-road package. I would skip that too. So a couple options there that I would just skip completely, bringing the price down a little bit. I would add a sunroof, though. It would have been kind of nice. It's like $1,400 for that, but whatever. That's the way that GM Canada wanted to configure this truck, so whatever. Let's talk about the fuel economy, though. This truck completed our 100-kilometer test loop in 12.8 liters per 100 kilometers. It's not bad. I mean, it's a huge truck. But compared to the other two 3/4 ton trucks that we've done, it does come in last place. The most recent that we did was the 2020 Ford F-250 Super Duty. That was a platinum trim, so almost at the top with the Tremor off-road package. That completed our test loop in 11.6 liters per 100 kilometers. And then about a year before that, we featured the Ram 2500. That was a Laramie Longhorn, kind of the mid-trim, but still very well equipped. Also with the Cummins Turbodiesel on that, and I completed it in 11 liters per 100 kilometers. So the Cummins has the most fuel economy when it comes to, or the best number at least for the fuel economy when it comes to any of these big pickup trucks. But you know, your results may vary, and obviously the people who are buying these aren't necessarily buying it for the fuel economy, but the idea is there. But I mean, you can't argue 18,500 pounds of towing. Holy cow, man. That is a lot of towing capability with this truck. Obviously, I have not done that much with this. I've driven it and I've filled up the bed with dirt and equipment and stuff that I need to do some landscaping at the house. It's worked out really well, but I mean, I don't need those numbers. So for me, it's a serious overkill. But why I say I would skip the off-road package, you can see going over some of these bumps here. I mean, you feel absolutely everything in this truck. You hit a small pebble, you're going to feel it. I was joking. It's like the Princess and the Pea, where you have 20 mattresses, but there's a little pea underneath the first one. The Princess can feel it. I gotta say, you can do the same thing with this truck. If you put a tiny pebble on the road, you will absolutely feel it. So skip the off-road package, unless you really need it, and you're just getting the slightly off-road tuned suspension and some skid plates and stuff. So for me, I don't need it. But I mean, I guess the option is there if you want it. But I feel that the F-250, even with the Tremor package, kind of ate up the bumps a little bit better than this. I feel it a lot more. But let's talk about the rest of the truck. I mean, I have to say that you know, we've talked a little bit about the interior and exterior. You know, I don't feel that the interior on this is up to the same level that the Ford is or the Ram. This is not a luxury-oriented interior, despite the fact that it costs about $100,000 Canadian. I think GM should have looked at redesigning the interior. when they did the new generation. And I mean, even the exterior is pretty similar to the previous generation Silverado. There's a lot of them out here. This is a truck country where we live. That's one of the reasons why I love doing these pickup trucks, because I have the capabilities to do it, and this is the environment for these trucks to be in. And I see a lot of the previous generation Silverado HDs on the road, and they're pretty similar design, right? Like, obviously the grille is a little different, but the rest of the truck's not vastly different. And that's kind of been the trend with this generation of pickup trucks from all the manufacturers. They are pretty similar to their previous generations, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like they could have done a little bit more. So that's just my opinion on it. I mean, the seats are comfortable enough. They are a little firm, but that's fine for what you would want out of a pickup truck. The space on the inside here is good. You've got some storage options in the back. There's the under seat storage for the rear bench. Plus you've got these little cubbies in the backs of the seats there, so you can put some small things in there. I don't know what you would put in there, but the options are there should you need it. And then we also have the tonneau cover on this, which that came in handy for me when I went to the store. I just tossed all my hardware equipment in the back there. Didn't have to worry about it flying off. So yeah, it's well loaded. It's got a lot of features and stuff on here, so it works pretty well. Might not be the way that you configure it, but I think most people who are going to be buying this are going to go for the 6.6 liter Duramax. I mean, it sounds great when you start it up. It has that diesel roar that we all come to expect from a big diesel truck. It sounds great when you start it up in the morning, even though it's not that cold where we are here right now. It is still nice to have that diesel sound when you start up. And the performance on this, I gotta say, it's pretty good too. I'm pretty impressed with it. If we were to do, we're in two-wheel drive, but like a little launch here. Ooh, off the line, not so much, but it does pick up and it gets up to speed pretty quick. We're at 100. So off the line, obviously, this is not a performance vehicle. You're buying this, you want something that's going to be able to tow and haul and do all the work you need it to do. Then you're going to be fine. The engine on this is really good, and you can pick up speed pretty quick. If you're unloaded like we are here, you're doing like 60, you're trying to get onto the highway, you throttle it down, no issues whatsoever. You will be up to speed in the blink of an eye. So performance on this is good. Transmission has been working pretty well as well. I have no complaints about it. It doesn't seem to get lost when I go down in gear. Pretty much got power right away. So I'm pretty impressed. The transmission and the map profile on this, very good stuff there. Plus we've got the transfer case controls just to the left of the driver area. We've got automatic 4 high, 4 low, and 2 high. So we currently have it in 2 high, which just allows me to use the rear wheels a little bit better for maneuvering. Since this is such a big vehicle, you do have to maneuver things a little differently. But like I said on the outside, the technology on this, the cameras that you can have, is sort of the selling feature on top of the Duramax. You can see in the B-roll that we have that your experience with the Silverado is one of safety. You want to be able to see what's around you. That's the biggest, at least obstacle, if you want to call it that, for me. When I'm looking at these trucks, you want to make sure that the other people around you are safe. Now, you can't control how bad other drivers are, but you can control how good of a driver you are, and doing so with more ability to see what's going on. So you can have the camera running for about 10 seconds while you're driving. That way you can keep an eye on whatever's in the bed. You can keep an eye on the trailer. You can see past the trailer. Maybe if there's a police officer trying to pull you over or something, there are some options there with the camera systems on this truck. So there are a lot of cameras. Configure them. You can see, again, we had it on the B-roll when we were talking about it on the outside. There's connectors for the cameras themselves on top of the brake lights and everything for your trailer. So it really does make sense. That's the focus of this. And realistically, I mean, it's not like GM is exclusive to have this. The other manufacturers are rolling out these features as well. So we will get there. We will have more cameras, more sensors, more data on these vehicles. That's the whole point. That's why they're costing so much these days, because there is so much technology on them. They are getting expensive for those reasons. But regardless, if you are a Chevrolet enthusiast, you're going to be buying this no matter what. This will be the truck on your list. Personally, I would take the GMC if I had to choose between this and the GMC. I think that the Sierra HD just looks really good. The front end is nice and sleek. Again, it's not super updated compared to the previous generation, but it fits in line with what GMC is doing, and I personally prefer the look of the GMC over this. And to be fair, GMC does sell pretty well here in Canada, whereas from what I've been told from GM itself, is the GMC brand isn't as strong in the US. A lot of people like their Chevy trucks, but here in Canada, we're GMC country. But aside from that, I've enjoyed my week with this truck. I always do hope to do some more truck stuff with it, but obviously there's only so much I can do personally. But
it does work very well. So good job to GM. Again, interior would be the one place that I would hope that they will maybe focus some time with a facelift. But aside from that, if you have any questions about this 2021 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD High Country, you can let me know in the comments below. I do try to get back to everybody who leaves a comment, especially the constructive ones. I do my best to reply to everybody so I can get to your comments and questions and anything you might have. And I also would invite you to give a thumbs up to the video if you haven't done so already, and to subscribe to our channel to get more content like this. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.